mom told me not to go play football. I was like 12 years old during that time, and she basically left the house and she locked the gate and left with the keys. And I obviously knew that at least I thought I knew the time that she was gonna come back home. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna jump off over the wall, then go play my football, come back home. She wouldn't be home and she wouldn't know a thing. You know? You know what happened? I jumped over the wall.
She was there.
I see the car on the parking spot. And at that point I'm like, oh god. What? Don't tell me that she's back. And like I'm trying to think of excuses that it's not her or it might not be her. I get inside the house, she's sitting on the couch with my belt. I think we all know what happened after. But I got a big whip, but then the reason why I can never forget that day is because that day was like a massive U-turn for me, right? Because ever since then, I stopped jumping over walls. I started listening to my mom more and you know, things like this. Because obviously I was a child and so it was for me back then it was a massive U-turn, right? For me back then at that age.
Yeah.
But looking back to it now, it installed that thought of what I do, it's gonna have a consequence, and the consequence could be positive or negative, right? And our current generation trying to remove caning and saying that it's abuse to a child and what. Of course, you do find parents that overdo it. Absolutely, I personally don't agree with that.
Nobody.
But exactly, but you need to. A child has to be caned. You just have to
Discipline.
You find kids that now, because of lack of discipline, discipline is not necessarily punishment.
Yeah.
But you find a lot of kids having the audacity to tell their parents to get out of the room.
That's a no-no from Africa's like. You're like, I think you're desperate when you say that to your parents.
What?
You're telling your
Or who? and of course, it's something that is being embraced in other cultures.
Yeah.
But I think,
and it's being seen in movies.
what exactly is it teaching us as young people? And I mean, this just draws us away from really being accountable for the consequences. Because here's the thing with consequences. There are some decisions that you might make in your youthful years that might not affect you right now. The consequences may come years later.
Years later.
And some of the consequences of the actions that you're doing right now might not affect you, but they affect your children.
Yeah.
That's the ugly side of consequences. Consequences outlive the person who has made the decision and performed the actions.
Yeah.
And the moment you're conscious that some decisions that you're making right now at the youthful age, they're going to catch up with us. So the question is, in everything you do, I remember my mentor used to say this, everything you do, before you do it, ask yourself, am I going to enjoy remembering this 10 years down the line? Am I going to enjoy having these memories 15, 20, 30 years down the line? As long as you're not at peace, in as much as for that time, you might enjoy remembering those moments where they're indulging some certain things, but are going to be happy remembering those things when you're not older. So when it comes to the issue of enjoying your youth, I think it's all about making decisions and doing things that you won't regret later on in life and saying, if only I hadn't done that, I would be in a better position right now. If only I hadn't done that, I would have achieved ABC. So let's use this youthful age to invest. I mean, maximizing your youthful age. I think enjoying your youthful age, in as much as, of course, you're having fun and all that stuff, but I think it's a year to invest. Just like any other investment. When you're investing in your youth, it's a long-term investment.
Yeah.
It's a long-term investment that you might not see the results of it then. And that is the reason why you see that some people, they are mocked by their peers. That you're wasting a lot of time, you are too serious about these things.
Yeah.
But what they fail to understand is that this is a long-term investment. This is a long game. It's not a game of getting immediate gratification. Because there's sometimes when you're working on something, it's not giving you results then.
You don't see the results.
And your peers are not getting results there. I'm reminded of the Chinese bamboo. I see a lot of speeches on that. How the bamboo takes 5
That's
years.
the first time I'm hearing about it.
5 years to sprout
Yeah.
or to shoot. So it's like you take the seed, you put it out of the ground, you're watering it for 5 years. You're not seeing any result whatsoever. I take the same thing with investing or enjoying your youth. That sometimes during the enjoying of youth, it's your time to invest. And you might not see the results immediately during the youth age, but they're going to catch up, those results are going to catch up with you. So what is going to catch up with you can either be ill or good. It can be the consequence of the negative things that you do.
Yeah.
So you can't expect to reap good things when you're doing bad things.
That's
So expect, and what happens is this: consequences are usually exaggerated, come with exaggerated intensity or magnitude or results.
But I feel like, oh, okay, go on.
Think of it this way: when you take a maize cob or when you take a maize seed, it's just one. But when you seed it, look at the results or the harvest that it gives you. It gives you over 20,
Yeah.
100-fold. But it's just one seed. The same thing happens, that some consequences, some actions that you do today, the consequences are going to be so devastating and they're going to come at a high magnitude, intensity, and they're just going to be severe. So rather make decisions that you know that they're going to give you peace, that when you look back when you're old age, you're going to man, did I invest in my youth?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So rather suffer now and enjoy later, rather be uncomfortable now, in as much as you're enjoying, yes, but make sure that you're going to be rejoicing tomorrow. Let them laugh at you right now, but they always say, be the last one to laugh.
Yeah, have it.
Third one, man, let them laugh, but make sure that you are the
You
last
had
one.
the last laugh, yeah.
I agree.
I wanted to say something, but I realized that it was a little bit off topic. But I'll say it anyways. See, one thing I'm kind of noticing within our generation is that we fear the consequences of our actions. You know, and it's like we don't want to accept the actual reality.
Yeah, accountability.
I'll give an example. So sometimes people ask me, why don't you why don't I do certain things? Like, why don't I sleep around? Why don't I, have a girlfriend and things like this? Why am I so picky? So if there's one thing about me that most of my friends would tell me is that I have really high standards when it comes to women, which in my opinion, I don't really think they're high standards. I just think that's how a decent woman should be, but I'm not gonna get into that. But I usually ask myself this, right? And I'm pretty sure you guys have also been asked the same question. I'm certain that someone has asked you, what are you gonna do if you get a girl pregnant now? Right?
So the consequences.
Exactly. You get what I'm saying? So I've usually been asked that question so many times, and I usually say that first I spoke about two things. I spoke about why I'm not sleeping around. The question getting asked why I don't sleep around, and what would I do when I get a girl pregnant.
This might not be relevant to what you're talking about. But there's another guy who said that he was advising women. He said, don't marry on credit. And what I was basically saying is that don't give, many ladies these days, they give all the privileges before they're married to a
Before
person.
they're married.
Exactly.
So it's like, getting married.
Yeah.
And later on, you might end up even like both of you. Step with people and you might end up. But anyways, that's how
That's
it's just a
humor adds the spice to it.
Okay, but getting back to the first question, right? I'd rather have I'd rather not sleep around because you never really know what's gonna happen, right? Imagine sleeping around with a girl that likes to party, then does all this type of things. A slave queen, basically. And you get her pregnant. And she would be the mother that raises your child.
Something that's gonna work to your disadvantage because you don't want that.
Exactly. So those are the consequences that I look for. And I'm like,
Even depression, because something unplanned, it's like there's a lot that you don't see.
leave that, like, bro, just leave those because the depression or the stress, they're gonna be there temporarily. It will get to a point that you get used to the fact that, okay, fine. I have a
But
child.
like having to.
But the fact that a woman of that caliber raising your child, think of the values that child is gonna have. There's this Tanzanian celebrity, right? He made it public and he made it clear. He said, because he gave birth with a certain lady, he said, she is not my daughter.
Sorry, why did he say that?
He said that because of the values of the lady that he gave birth with. The
But
character.
at the same time, I also have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Because you see, because we do not want to take accountability for the consequences. You sleep with somebody, and then that person gets pregnant, and then you deny the child.
It's not that.
Cowardness.
I agree with that actually.
Yeah.
And I still do think that, right? But he, for 13 years of the girl's life,
Yeah.
he's been trying to take care of the girl.
Yeah, but
Right.
this is
But-
the area of the consequence. Sometimes you have to pay like
You have
Think
exactly,
long-term.
you have to think
you
long
pay
term.
the burden
Which
of not thinking.
which most of the youth these days don't think long term. You just think of now. I'm gonna drink alcohol now and have fun and get drunk and forget the morning. You know, things
something
like that.
20 years later your liver is gone.
I think we should
Exactly.
actually have a discussion on consequences and being accountable.
That would be a really good topic.
I think it's really important
Yeah.
because we are so we do some certain things thinking that you can manipulate the outcomes.
Yeah.
It's nature. You reap what you sow. You can't. If you sow tomatoes, you can't manipulate
And
the
get
whole
carrots.
process and get carrots or cabbage. It's just not how it works.
Yeah.
Very
So at the same time, when you deny or you become so adamant and think that you'll not be able to suffer the consequences, I think this is what is actually really affecting us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very true.
So think of the long term. Are you going to be happy before you take any action? The decisions that I'm making right now, are they going to give me favorable consequences in the long run?
But that barely happens at the spot of like I guess temptation because you
It does.
You don't. Yeah. You don't think of it.
you
when
don't think about this is gonna be good.
Yeah, there are times when you have to make fast decisions.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes, of course, people get tempted and they sometimes will fall short. Everybody falls short
Yeah.
at some point in
You
time.
don't see the consequences.
But I think it's very important to know that if you do some certain things,
you have to be aware.
if you put your hand in fire, you're going to get burnt.
Yeah.
If you jump off the building, gravity is going to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
It's just nature. Whether you don't believe in gravity or not, it's just going to act upon you. Try to fly and you see yourself landing down.
Yeah.
Because it's gravity. It's just nature. That's how it is. These are natural laws.
Natural laws.
You
You
can
can fly
never-
for some time till you hit the ground.
You, I like that. You can never manipulate natural laws. You can manipulate other laws, but
You
natural
are all
laws,
subject to them.
you can never. And you don't break them. You break yourself against them.
They break you.
They break you. So I think that's what's lacking. In
Yeah,
in
and getting back to the second question that I usually get asked, I would actually like to hear from you boys. What would you guys do if you get a girl pregnant right now?
And this is like
Like-
more so personal
Right.
because like
No,
there are
no.
many
Okay,
spheres.
the,
I would
it might,
answer
it's obviously it's a bit personal, but just like a general answer.
Yeah, I mean, of course you have to fight to keep the baby and like responsibilities, but like there are certain reflexes because now you have the right not to marry. Because like for me, if I impregnate someone that I don't love,
That's where I was beginning to answer the question.
exactly.
Why? Of course, I don't recommend people to be sleeping around
Yeah.
and indulging in intercourse and in sex and all.
Very true.
But why in the first place
Would you sleep around someone?
would you sleep with somebody whom you know that if things go south, you're not going to be willing to do that?
Because that's not even like intercourse out of there's
Why-
intercourse
why-
out of love.
why
That's
would you
one
do
thing
that?
that
Because
that's one
honestly,
thing that stops me from sleeping around.
because honestly, you go around and you know very well that you are sleeping, and you know that of course the result of intercourse, there are high chances of you getting pregnant or making somebody pregnant or even getting STDs, right? It is what it is. But at the same time, I think should you find yourself in that, of course, we will make mistakes. That do happen, right?
Contraceptives might not work.
But I think the most important thing that you can do is to take accountability for your actions.
Definitely father the child.
Father the child. We are tired of men that when they impregnate somebody,
They run away.
They
they run away.
Or
That's
they
cowardness.
even talk about abortion. They
But
tell
that's
they
like
tell
I
girls
mean
to
not
get-
for us, but it's like for people like a sensitive topic because especially like
It's a sensitive
it's
topic.
a very
yes,
sensitive topic.
but
But at the same time, I think the moment somebody impregnates people and then they run away from them, I mean,
that's coward.
what the cowardness? Because while you've impregnated the girl, you dump this girl. What do you expect them to do?
Exactly.
You have impregnated them. It's your responsibility.
that is like the
Take
most
care of-
disgusting thing to do.
I mean, like really. You, what? Okay, it's in this case we seem as men to be at an advantage because she has ruined their reputation. She has by being impregnated and she has given birth.
I
and
always knew you were.
she
This guy.
how much?
Yeah.
Right, the female has given birth. She has gone through the period of carrying the baby for 9
Everything,
months,
yeah.
and the pain she has suffered. And at the end of the day, you do not appreciate the baby, run away from there.
And then when
She
you
has
see the child
suffered-
doing good in the future,
She has suffered the most
Right.
part of it.
Yeah.
So I think when you find yourself in that space, I think it's very important that you take accountability for what you've done.
Very like
I usually say
Take-
this is what I usually answer. I usually say that no matter what happens, no matter who it is, I'm not rejecting my own child. Then they would say, what if they tell you that you have to marry the girl? Then I'm like, okay, it's the consequences of my actions.
but yeah,
Nobody
that's
told
highly
me-
debatable in many
No,
sense.
yeah, listen. If I impregnate a girl now, right, and I'm told that I have to marry the girl, even if I don't, no, if I'm told that I have to
I go
by the girl's family, because obviously I would have to go to the girl's family and be like, okay, I'm the person that impregnated your daughter, blah blah blah. And if they tell me that I have to marry the child, the daughter, even if it's something that I would not want to, even if she might not be the ideal girl that I would want to marry,
Yeah.
I will do it because it's the consequences of my actions.
What you've done.
Nobody told me to go around and sleep around with a girl
Made someone-
and make her pregnant. Nobody told me to do that. Did I have to do that? Absolutely not. So I did it anyways, and I got myself into that position. I just have to see it through.
Like
I
extreme
think
ownership.
we just have to learn to take accountability for actions.
Yeah.
That's
And that's one thing. So getting back to the whole topic,
Like to like wrap it in.
to wrap it all in.
Yeah.
Just know that as much as you claim that you're enjoying your youth by doing things that possibly are okay to be done to a certain extent, once you overdo them, just know that there are consequences for them.
Exactly.
There's long-term consequences that you're gonna have to be accountable for,
Yeah.
right?
To wrap it up, like there's this one quote. It's enjoyment of responsibility is extremely careless. If you enjoy something, you need to have the responsible aspect. And also, like one of the best wisdom from scripture is like, while you're enjoying yours, it's better for you to carry responsibility on your use while your back is still broad, while you're able, because that is what makes like a good foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what.
And
I believe.
And most importantly, there's a part of the scripture that people do not really like quoting.
Mm.
That verse does not end on saying, enjoy your youth in a studio. People seem to love just quoting that part.
the phrase.
They love that portion, but it hasn't ended as yet.
Mm.
At the end it says, but remember that you're going to be judged for what you're going to do.
You have to stand, not in front of your
You are
friends.
going to be judged. And sometimes the judgment is already in the consequences.
Yeah, very true.
And just to, go on.
Yeah, so I think it's very important that already clearly tells you that what you should not do. I think people the spirit tells you there's nobody who can say, I didn't know this was wrong. There are sometimes when you know that what you're doing is wrong.
You're conscious.
Your conscience will tell you it's inbuilt. There's an
You can't
inbuilt
run
alarm
away from
system.
it.
There's an inbuilt alarm system. Of course, we do violate it frequently, right? We do that a lot.
Sometimes
And
you
I
don't
don't
keep
see
always.
I do that a lot of time, right? But there's an inbuilt alarm system that tells you that this is what you're doing, this is wrong. But I think it's very important that the fact that you know that there's judgment. When there's the aspect of judgment, it means that there's something that is wrong and there's something that is right. So the question is, with what you're doing right now and considering it enjoying, is it wrong or is it right? You do your own judgment. I can't tell you what you're doing is wrong, but you can tell yourself that what you're doing is wrong.
What you're doing.
And your conscience will tell you if what you're doing is wrong or right.
Exactly.
Yeah. And to sum it up or to conclude it, I would just like to suggest people to watch, to listen to Jose Zuniga's podcast. So Jose Zuniga is someone that I would say has he's made a massive influence in my life. The guy doesn't even know me. He's in a totally different part of the world, but he's made a massive influence in my life, right? Because I started watching him when I was like 16, I think, and ideally his channel is all about fashion, men's fashion and men's grooming and things like this. But he gets invited to podcasts because apart from just his YouTube channel, he runs businesses. He has like 5 businesses that he runs. So he gets invited to multiple podcasts, and he's also a husband and a father at the age of 26, right? He gets invited into multiple podcasts being asked, how do you balance this at such a young age? And his story is insane. His story is insane. I think we'll try to link down the podcast in the description. I'd recommend everyone to watch that. Every single young man or young woman, watch that, then look at your life and question yourself. Question your standards, question your decisions, question your choices. And then...
Right, with that, I think that brings us to the end of the session. Let us know what you think about it, and also let us know of the topics that you want us to discuss on this channel. Until then, take care.